it's definitely a mid-tempo album.
Yeah.
Except for there was one of my favorites. I can't remember because I can't find my notes. But was that on purpose, or do you think your next project will be more up-tempo, or is that kind of your groove?
Well, my natural groove is mid-tempo, but the right up-tempo will definitely get me going. When I set out to do the record, honestly, it's really funny to me that the whole album was about love. I didn't write it all in one sitting, of course, and that's what's so amazing to me is it took me 10 years to finally complete that album, and the fact that so much of it was about love, and I wasn't even in love at the time. It just, I'm like, okay, where did all this come from? But I know at one point there was a turning point, I would say maybe midway through the process, where I had tons of songs that I had written, and I wrote a lot of songs about, you're getting on my nerves, you're no good, and all these different things. But there was a couple of songs that I wrote that, for instance, the bonus track on my album is called Why, and it's about a mom having to explain to her child why the father is not there, or basically asking the father, what do I say to him when he asks why, And so, but mind you, I wrote that song 10 years ago. Actually, it's been longer than 10 years. I wrote that song probably 12 years ago. Wrote that song before I was a mother, it wasn't even a thought in my mind at the time. But it's kind of one of those things where a lot of times when I write, I feel like that's when I'm closest to God, because it's like he gives me these songs out of nowhere, And for that one, like I said, I wrote it. I had no concept of what it was like. I don't even know if my friends had even had kids then. So I don't even know where the concept came from. And it was just something that was haunting me. I sat down to the piano, I started writing the keys, and then literally everything, and it doesn't usually happen this way, but from beginning to end, I was done like within 20 minutes. I had the melody, I had I had everything. And so anyway, what I was getting at is when I wrote that song, of course, I had no point of reference. And then you fast forward some years and life imitated art. And I was like, wow, and that kind of freaked me out at first, because I was like, okay, did I just create, you know what I mean? Like, did I bring that into my life in a sense, But then, there was another song that I wrote probably around the same time where life imitated art once again. And I said, you know what? If life can imitate art in this form, I wonder if I write a song about love and what I want this man to be to me and all these different things, I wonder, will he come? and so me being the hopeless romantic, that's what I did. So I started writing these songs before I was even in love, just kind of channeling what I thought it would, what it would feel like. Not to say that I'd never been in love before, but, kind of, going back to what that felt like. And I really felt like, and myself included, there were movies that were coming out about, how love falls apart, particularly with Black love. And I wanted us to get back to when, you met that person, you had butterflies in your stomach, and those things that get on your nerves now was actually cute then when you first got with them. And so that's just kind of how it evolved. But again, I didn't anticipate that the whole album would be about that. But once I realized that was the theme, and of course me being born on Valentine's Day, I just... Exactly. It just came together. And the title Love Infinity really came from, well, the infinity part came from the fact that, like I said, I'm a full-time student. And I was in a math class that was pretty challenging at the time, and I felt like that class was going to go on for infinity. And so that's kind of where the title came from. Nobody really knows that, but that's where it came from. That coupled with my son always asking me, about infinity and wanted to know what the number is just before infinity. Because he was saying that's how much he loved me, and so I was able to tie that in on a personal note for me, but it translated and manifested into a project that people seem to identify with, or at least I know some of my girlfriends have come to me and said, man, it's given them hope, and but then I have some girlfriends that are like, when are you going to write the Angry Black Woman album?
Well, it's nice to have something that you can just look, like you said, sit back and listen to and think about maybe being in love, or if you're in love, or being in love again, or try, like applications, looking for that.
Yes.
Man. I love that. I think I posted it, that statement, every man ain't here.
Yes, you did.
Oh my God.
Oh, but it's so funny. When I wrote that song, really I wrote it as a joke initially, because, I just get in those moods sometimes, and, I'm talking stuff, and it did come from a real place, though. It came from a real person that I met, and it just, he was everything that I didn't want, and so I started writing down my criteria, and that's just kind of how it happened. And the line, every man ain't necessarily handy, I don't even know where that came from, but it's just funny to me because it's so true. It's so true. And recently I had a friend who, when I met him, he was wearing a suit, and he was, just this dapper, gentleman or whatever. And my car broke down, and I, instantly went into, okay, damsel in distress. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to call roadside assistance. And he calls me. He's like, no. Let me take a look at it. I'm like, how are you going to, instantly I went to every man ain't necessarily handy, thinking, he's not going to be able to do this. And would you believe that he took care of it? He fixed my car. And instantly I text my manager, and I'm like, wow, I guess there are some handymen out there.
Handyman left, right?
Exactly. So, that restored my hope, but also, realizing you put it out there, going back to what I said, you put out what you want, or you put out that positivity, it will come back. And, so he he fixed my car, so it kind of gave me like, okay, so my criteria, my application is not so bad. It's not so far-fetched, to really want someone that, that respects God and loves his children, and, all of that. So anyway, but yeah, applications is a female favorite. Some of the fellows are like, I don't know about that one. But, and it's not designed to be male bashing. It's just because that's what I've been accused. No, but gentlemen tend to think that anytime a woman is
as criteria
thinking about that kind of stuff, then it's like, oh, she's on a female anthem kick, and she's, male bashing. But no, it's just really about being honest. Really, at the end of the day, it was about me being honest about what it is that I wanted in my life. And I don't think there's anything wrong with us, male and female, deciding, what, this is what I need in my life, or this is what's important to me, and not deviating from that. Because we all know, we've been in relationships that, we got in for whatever the reason was, and it had nothing to do with what you truly needed in your life. And so anyway, I, for one, of course, I've kissed some frogs along the way myself. So it was time for me to, put my criteria out there.
So what's next for you?
Well, I'm excited about some collaborations that I'm working on right now that I can't speak of just yet. But I will be releasing a song on my birthday, Valentine's Day, of course. And, of course, it's going to be about love, of course. But a new album will be out in June. I'm excited about that too. There's some kind of pressure sometimes about, the sophomore project, but, my main thing, same thing with Love Infinity. I didn't set out to do a specific type of album or, gear it towards anybody in particular. I just do music that feels good to me. So I'm excited about being able to express that again. And, I've, written some songs and, they're not just about love. I shouldn't say that. It's probably about, most of them I think so far are about relationships, of course, but it'll be a nice little, mixture. I'll say that. And my girlfriend that asked me about the Angry Black Woman song, I told her I'd at least have one of them on there for her.
On there, right?
mind you, she's married. She's married, and she's like, "When are you gonna do the Angry Black Woman album?" And I'm like, you're not giving me any hope here. She's been married for like 17 years or something. Like, wow, okay. So anyway, but no, that's what's next. We secured some licensing agreements, and so I was really excited when a friend of the family heard one of my songs on in-flight music on an airline, and I'm like, wow. I mean, that's something that I dreamt of many times, that I've listened to in-flight music myself. I'm like, one of these days I want to be one of those artists, so that, and DirecTV, and so we're pitching to some films, and just open to whatever God has for me. I'm open to it. Some may know and may not know that I also had a gospel project that I was working on at one point, and so I know at some point down the road I will do a gospel project also, which was kind of partly why when I did the Christmas EP, I wanted the music, or the songs that I chose, were strictly about my religious belief, and not about Santa Claus and all that kind of stuff.
And that's what I loved about it, because there was all the songs I used to sing in church,
Right, exactly.
And it wasn't, like you said, about Santa Claus, and
right.
Beatboxing or whatever you call it. It was
yeah.
Nice. It was really nice.
And for some people, though, I think it was a diversion. Not a diversion, that's not the word I meant to say. For some people, I felt like they weren't really sure how to take it, because it wasn't like my usual salaciousness, which is a word that I coined. It was probably more pop, I think, than people anticipated hearing from me. But again, I don't work off of what's trending. I don't work off of, what everybody else thinks I should be doing. I've actually been there, done that over the years with previous management and stuff. But, I just did it how I felt it, and, Way in a Manger was the first song that my mom taught me to sing. So I had to have that song in there. And it's so funny, because my mom used to tease me over the years about that song. And she's like, because every Christmas my grandmother would have me sing Oh Holy Night, which of course is on there as well. And that's not her favorite song. And so every year she's like, so when are you going to sing Away in a Manger? And I was like, never. I was like, never. I'm not singing that song. Like, why would I sing that song? But then, the inspiration hit me. And then, of course, the idea to do it a cappella. And, it just happened in a way that I would have never imagined. But again, it's like one of those things. When the spirit moves, it just moves,
It was delightful. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, well, thank you.